After a 30-year wait, Liverpool are league champions once again, and we are delighted to be joined by the Anfield Wrap CEO, Neil Atkinson, to talk to us about an incredible and rather unique win for Liverpool. Neil, let's start by you just telling us how it feels, because I feel like there's so many layers to this league win.
There are. What I found difficult is people using phrases like 30 years of hurt. Let's be clear about this. I've had a great time. It's been fabulous. Liverpool have won every other trophy there is to win. We've come close on many occasions. And this side has proven its brilliance, not just for one season, but arguably for three, definitely for two. And they're getting what they deserve. But in general, it feels tremendous to be able to support the Liverpool side who were champions. There was genuinely a period where at times you thought, will this ever actually happen to us, or certainly happen to me, the right side of 50, it's fair to say. And this now is terrific. It is what they deserve. It's what the club deserves. The club's been brilliantly run for such a long period. The support, I think, has been tremendous, especially since Klopp came in. But even before then, it's fair to say Rodgers' side of 13-14 had us all fall in love with footballers again. But now to have got this moment, it is tremendous and it feels fantastic.
Yeah, I absolutely can imagine. Obviously, massive congratulations to you all. Talk to me a little bit about Jurgen Klopp and how he identifies with the city of Liverpool, with the club, and everything that's changed since he came in.
Klopp, if you take the Klopp story at Liverpool, it goes right the way back to a 2-2 draw against West Bromwich Albion when he took the players to the Kop. And he took the players to the Kop because West Brom had turned up that day. They'd been really physical under Tony Pulis. There'd been a terrible tackle right in front of me in the ground. And he took the players to the Kop. We got a late equaliser, and everyone had stayed. And before then, he'd said, as people left when we were losing late in games, that he'd felt so lonely. And everyone stayed because of the tackle, because of the physical, as ever, sometimes bad refereeing gets a crowd going. And everyone was up and everyone was involved. And when it went 2-2, everyone went berserk. So we sent the players to the Kop, and he got loads of criticism. Afterwards, loads and loads of criticism. But at that moment was him sealing a covenant with the supporters, with the players, himself, all of us together, saying, we'll give everything to the last moment and you've got to do the same. And we've not really looked back from that point. That season we have the Dortmund victory where, again, it's a late victory. I interviewed Klopp that summer and he said, he all but said we'd taken a draw. We'd taken that we were going out. We'd accepted it on, the way in which it had gone. But Anfield didn't. He said that was Anfield's victory. And, all of that, I think, matters massively. And he's so generous in that spirit. He wants people to enjoy their football. And I think that, Kay, similar to your part of the world, to be quite honest with you, football's culturally, crucially important. In Liverpool, basically, if Arsenal or Chelsea are playing at home and you go for a weekend away in London, well, you might not even notice, you might not even be aware of it. Whereas if you go to Liverpool and Liverpool or Everton are playing, it's everywhere, it's around you. That's not to say it's the only thing the city focuses on, but it is the main thing. And Klopp's embraced that. He loves that fact. He loves the fact that what they do is at the centre of how happy we are in quite a deep and profound way. And he's built on it and built on it and built on it, and here we are.
Do you think he'll continue to build on it? Do you think he is a long-term appointment at Liverpool and he could be there for many more years to come?
I hope so. I think the key thing for Klopp is going to be how much he enjoys it. And in a sense, the slight break that we've all had due to the pandemic where he wasn't able to work with his players, where he missed those moments. He hadn't had a break from football full stop, bar a small period between Dortmund and Liverpool. And there's a chance that might have reset him. I think with Jurgen, I think he needs to be enjoying it and enjoying every day. Not just when he's coaching the team on match days, but I think every single day. I think he wants to feel as though he's delighted to be training with the footballers. And so he signed a contract extension this season. I'm hopeful he'll do another one on top of that, but I think the key thing will be for him, is this still the best thing I can do with my time? Am I still loving every minute of this? And I think as long as that's the case and that's his attitude, I think he will stay with us. I don't think he quite suits the idea of international management. And if he's looking for a challenge now, the challenge that's in front of him is, let's be honest, and in all this conversation about Liverpool win the league, let's be honest, Liverpool are a super club. There are very few super clubs in European football, but Liverpool are one of them. And they've got the capability to be one of the defining ones. The challenge Jurgen Klopp has at Liverpool now is no different to the challenge it'd be at Real Madrid, to the challenge it'd be at Barcelona or Bayern Munich. It is now the challenge of taking and institutionalising greatness season in, season out. That's the thing that's now in front of him, and I hope he's energised by that challenge, because I can think of no better man to do it.
So you talk about that challenge, and the big clubs always know that they have to keep bringing players in. Have you identified any positions where they do need to strengthen, even if it just comes to depth with your squad?
I don't think it's even the idea of depth or a position. I think what matters is Liverpool could do with more footballers who are obviously good enough, but who are aged between 21 and 25. There's 3 or 4 really good youth prospects coming through who are under 21. most of this side is at its peak now. It's aged between 26 and 30, and that's when footballers traditionally peak. And it's fair to say that this Liverpool side, while I think it can still improve, a lot of those footballers are around their peak. With peak, we've got to be careful. It doesn't just work like this. You can taper up towards it, you can taper away from it. But I think it's fair to say that that's the case. But Liverpool have got a bit of a hole. Minamino and Keita are 25, Gomez is 23, and Alexander-Arnold's 21. And apart from that, there's no one else in the squad. So whilst there's this cultural sort of feel around the places to not just enjoying winning, but expecting winning, it's important, I think, that the next set of leaders, the next set of 21 to 25-year-olds who become 26 to 30-year-olds join this club as soon as possible, to be honest with you. And it might be slightly thwarted by what's going on in the worldwide context. But for me, that's what I'd like to see the club address. And the position of that, does it matter? Doesn't actually matter hugely, I don't think, but I want footballers to have worked with one another, and I want batons to be passed along year by year and grow and grow.
Were you gutted to miss out on Timo Werner?
No, because there's loads of good players knocking around who are around that age and profile, and I think Timo's a lovely footballer, but there's other ones, I love Kai Havertz. I think he's a joy to watch, to be honest with you. There's obviously Jadon Sancho. In our league at the minute, there's Adama Traore and Ismail Sarr, both of whom I think will be real additions to this Liverpool side, to that front three. Really exciting, and again, who all fit the age profile that I'm talking about there. So listen, we've got to accept other teams are going to have good players, because what would be the point if they didn't? Well, we're all meant to just crack on and not actually face anyone. We're going to play Manchester City pretty soon, and they've got really good players, and we've got to accept that, because that's what makes it fun. I think the pandemic, to me, I really missed elite sport, and part of why I've got to watch what could be the greatest Liverpool team ever is because they had to beat a brilliant Manchester City team. Part of why Liverpool are going to break 100 points is because they felt they had to, because they thought Manchester City were that good. And I think what the pandemic should remind us is we're meant to enjoy this. We're meant to enjoy watching these brilliant footballers. We're meant to enjoy watching brilliant sports stars, full stop. And in order for them to be genuinely brilliant, they need to play against other brilliant ones. So I hope Timo does perfectly well at Chelsea. Obviously, I don't want him to win as much as a Tom Bowler, but I want him to be part of pushing our lads as much as humanly possible, so that we win everything, but we get to say afterwards, my God, weren't we great? Didn't we have to prove our greatness over and over again? And we won't win everything, but we've got to enjoy this, because if we can take anything from the cessation of so many aspects of our cultural lives, it's that life is for living and for enjoying. And there was a period of time there where everything froze, and the idea of enjoyment, if we're honest about it, froze. So yeah, Chelsea will get to have good players, Man City will have good players, even Manchester United will have good players. The point is that we enjoy ours, we enjoy watching theirs, and we enjoy beating theirs.
Oh, we definitely all enjoy watching your players. Let's talk a little bit about your fullbacks, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who you've mentioned, and Andy Robertson, because not only have they made the position super cool again, I don't know if it ever was cool, but it definitely is at the moment, they also have this way of identifying with the fans, obviously maybe the local thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold, but what is it that has allowed them to do that and have propelled them basically to the top of world football in their position?
I think the first thing is their own application. And I suspect if the manager was here, he'd say a willingness to learn and to develop. I think Klopp himself has adapted his approach to their strengths and to what they've shown for one another. I think Liverpool's midfield is often spoken about as though it lacks a certain amount of creativity, but part of what it does is it works so that everybody else can blossom. And I think that's what you've seen. And I think realising that with Trent, you've got this unbelievably gifted footballer, this brilliant passer of the ball, someone who reads the game so well. He's so intelligent, Trent Arnold, both on and off the pitch, let's be frank about that. And he's committed to the wider cause. And you can say the same thing about Robertson as well. Robertson is he's a tremendous footballer, to be honest with you. And we miss him so much when he isn't there. He didn't play the Merseyside derby against Everton. And, there really was a hole on that left-hand side from a Liverpool point of view. But again, I think it's down to the fact that the manager wants them to enjoy the football, to be part of what happens all over the pitch. I know one of his favourite goals this season was the Mo Salah header against Manchester City, when Trent picks it up on the right, switches it to Robertson on the left. Robertson gets out from under his feet and puts it right on a plate for Mo Salah to nod home brilliantly. There's also another goal where Trent Alexander-Arnold against Salzburg puts the ball in for Andy Robertson to get on the end of. In open play, not in a set piece. And I think that's what the manager wants. He sees these fullbacks as part of the whole team. I think he wants fullbacks putting tap-ins to the back of the net from 6 yards out in the middle of the goal. That's what we're about, and that's what they embrace.
As soon as we're talking about fullbacks, what can you tell us about Stevie Nicol? Because obviously he's the regular fixture with us here on ESPN FC.
There's someone else who I know occasionally does ESPN and is an excellent Liverpool writer, Tony Evans, goes out of his way to compare Steve Nicol to Paulo Maldini and to do so favourably. And it brings a fair amount of criticism Tony's way. And I think that's in part a story about how we actually view English football from a certain period. And that at that period, overseas football was just, frankly, it was more romantic. You didn't get to see those players as often and those sorts of names. And this happens to Alan Shearer, it happens to Ian Rush. But another one of those players it happens to is Steve Nicol. Steve Nicol was Footballer of the Year from fullback. Steve Nicol was an integral part of one of the greatest Liverpool sides ever. He's got a European Cup winners' medal in his back pocket. He's got innumerable league winners' medals in his back pocket. And he didn't do that by being a passenger. He did it by being a key part of this team. And he genuinely could be one of the best fullbacks ever. Tony's comparison is not an unfair one. And Steve Nicol is exactly the sort of fullback that this Liverpool side's currently showing. The ability of showing Andy Robertson and Steve Nicol are a really, really nice comparison in exactly the same way that Sadio Mane and John Barnes are a very, very nice comparison point as well. The idea of someone who plays on the left-hand side as a forward and has this fullback behind them who can play like a midfielder, who can join them, who can overlap them and who can score goals. That's exactly what Liverpool had back then. And it's a reminder that a lot of the core values within the game, working hard, reading the game well, knowing when to put your foot in, knowing when to attack, knowing when to defend, they don't go anywhere. Steve Nicol has them, and he would be, of all of Liverpool's former players, I mean, in all seriousness, if I could add one of Liverpool's greats to the current squad, you can make an argument it could be Steve Nicol because of his versatility and his ability to get all the way around the pitch. Obviously Liverpool have had genuinely great players. I mentioned Barnes, you've got Dalglish, but Nicol's up there with any of them, and he could do it in 4, 5, 6 different positions right the way across the pitch. He was a fabulous footballer, and he was great to watch whilst I was little.
I think you're definitely going to be his new favourite person, I've got to say. Talking about the players in your team then, we've been talking about the PFA Player of the Year award. We saw last year Virgil van Dijk get it, the year before it was Mo Salah. It's going to be so hard to pick, if it is somebody from Liverpool. Who would be your MVP of the season if you did have to pick a singular player out?
If I've got to pick one out, I would still pick last year's winner, if you want me to pick one. I think the gap between, Virgil van Dijk as an elite central defender, versus any other defender for an elite side on the planet is, for me, the gulf between him and everyone else is significant, genuinely significant. I think that, for instance, people talk about Koulibaly, and I've seen Koulibaly in the flesh a couple of times now, and don't get me wrong, he's a really good player. He is no Virgil van Dijk. There is a significant distance between Virgil van Dijk and any other centre-half on the planet. It's partially because of his stature. I think that obviously helps him, the fact that he is so big and imposing, but he's able to do this in the Premier League, where there are physical strikers, there are people like Chris Wood that you've got to deal with as much as you've got to deal with someone like Sergio Aguero, and basically he is just a master of reading the game, of picking his moments. And I think he is, as I say, even now more than someone like Messi, who is the greatest player ever to play the game for me. Van Dijk, the gap between Virgil van Dijk as the number one centre-half on the planet, it's almost like they should go number 1 Virgil, 2 no one, 3 no one, 6 no one, 8 no one, 12 maybe Koulibaly then. That's how much better he is than everyone else, and he is tremendous. But listen, there's so many players who could get it. Henderson's been tremendous all the way through the campaign. Mo Salah's so important to this Liverpool side. Sadio Mane was inspirational for the first 3 months of this season. They're a tremendous group, to be honest with you, and we're so fortunate to have them.
You mentioned Jordan Henderson. What have you made of the people who say that a player like him shouldn't be in the conversation for this award?
It's a ridiculous position, but they haven't been watching him. And, you can choose to... Ultimately, one of the things about football is that there's certain positions on the pitch you can choose to have. You can literally choose a wrong-headed opinion about and be able to decide you can fight it to the death. In the same way that there's been a great many footballers down the years who people feel as though they can malign, and that's not just Liverpool players. One of the most important players for Manchester United for 10 years was Michael Carrick, and he was never fashionable enough now. And even now, there's still people having internet arguments about Scholes, Lampard, and Gerrard, whereas someone really needs to be putting their hand up and say, "But hang on, what about Michael Carrick? He only got about 20 England caps." Henderson falls into that category for me. He's clearly a phenomenal leader, and he's a phenomenal leader, I think, with a lot of the softer skills that go around leadership. I think one of the things that we sort of get carried away with at times around football is this desire that everyone's got to be uber masculine. It's a lot of that sort of stuff, and trust me, I've seen Jordan tear a strip off whoever plays right back for Liverpool often enough, but it seems as though he's generous and warm in the way in which he's spoken about, and how emotional he was, in the videos when they were just trying to do an interview with him after they'd won the league. You could see what it meant to him, but also what he'd been carrying around, because the thing about Jordan is he's in touch with people and with community, and all that makes sense to him. And he knew what it would mean to us to have won that title. And, I think he's got a wide array of skills in that regard. I think he's got a wide array of skills as a footballer. I think he's a remarkably selfless footballer. I think at times he makes decisions that don't necessarily make his game look good or his stats look good, but he's happy to do it because it helps the team. And I think he works ever so hard. And again, his brain and his ability to dictate the tempo of a football match is terrific. He's a phenomenal footballer who's going to go away now as a Liverpool great and as a genuine Liverpool captaincy great. And I couldn't be happier for him as a player and as a person.
And just while we are talking about different areas of the pitch, let's talk about your front three, arguably the best front three in the world. Why do they work so well together, in your opinion?
I think it's because they can all take turns of doing everything, but they aren't. You know, there's still enough difference between them for them to have a certain mesh. So Mane, for instance, is happier coming deeper than Salah is. Salah makes the pitch absolutely enormous off one flank. He's also a natural goal scorer in a way which is overlooked. You know, he wants to be in between the sticks, but he gets there through routes that are unorthodox. You know, he can finish like Ian Rush or like Lewandowski, but he comes off a flank to do it. Firmino is able to combine elements of playing number 9 or just off the front and does so. And what the Liverpool front three are able to do is to respond to the thing that's in front of them. And I think that's something where, when you talk about when one gets taken out and Liverpool fail to perform, I think one of the reasons for that is because between the three of them, they solve the problem as to what defences are doing. And it might be that it'll be one of them who does something unlikely or the other one, but they're constantly probing in different ways. And that's what they lose. It's not the idea that the other player who comes in struggles with literally the technical aspects at times or the pace necessarily, but I think it's more the sort of the collective brain power, the fact that the idea that we're all beginning to just work this out between us in a little bit of a hive mind. Oh, that nearly worked, let's try that again, do it a bit differently. And that's what I think you get to see them do ever so well. And there's a genuine sense of purpose about them, and I think that they love playing football. They love playing football with one another, but not too much as well. I think that's important. They've got two lads who may well be trying to come top scorer here, and they're each going to want to do it, and fair play to them both. And I hope that they come 1 and 2 come the end of the season. For me, Salah's phenomenal, and I think that almost every aspect of the game, I think Salah is now underrated, and I think part of the reason why is every aspect of the game he's 9 out of 10 at. He's not 10 out of 10 at anything, but he's 9 out of 10 at every single bit of forward play, and that means you can't defend against him. You just can't cope with him. He can come short and hurt you and play the ball in behind. He can run past 3 and put it in the back of the net. You want to sit deep, he can shoot from distance. He's great between the sticks. Every single bit of it he's just tremendous at.
So going forward, who do you think are genuine contenders to Liverpool's title throne next season?
Oh, listen, we all start again at 0. And what, for instance, Manchester United have done since Christmas is they've shown a desire that every game matters. And I think that's the first thing to take. Liverpool this season have played 38 cup finals. Well, we haven't. We played 31 to date, but we will play 38 cup finals. That's the way they've treated it, because you need to be able to get 100 points. And I think that's been the shift. How do you keep doing that? And United have shown that since Christmas. So I think United, listen, they don't look to me right now like they're a 90-point team, but you never know, teams develop, but they look like they're very, very focused, and every single time they take the pitch to deadly serious. Chelsea are obviously a good side and are adding good players, and they'll take some beating. Manchester City under Pep Guardiola have got 198 points across 2 seasons. They're not mugs, it's fair to say. We start again at 0, and all of these sides can stop us, but we're going to attack it again, and we're going to enjoy it again. And I really hope that that's the case. What we can't be doing is as a fan base, but also as a club, and I don't think the club would under Jurgen, but as a fan base, we can't be fearful of defeat. We can't be thinking, oh, we're going to lose being champions. Let's enjoy being champions. Let's attack it and win it again. And I think we'll take some beating. I think we can get over 90 points. So if there's a side out there that wants to go and get 102 points, bring it on. But we'll be there from day one to do it all over again, get ourselves to that 90-point mark, that 100-point mark. And if someone beats us, if we get 98 points and someone else gets 99, all the best to them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.